I want to put an end to the civil war that seems to be brewing inside the Republican Party. Now, the current version of the American Health Care Act, as Tom Price said, is a first draft. First drafts are never perfect, always filled with errors, miscalculations. Now it's up to the Republican members of Congress to come together and fix this bill and get it right for you.
So Hannity from last night, hash it out or pay a price, saying the fight over Obamacare could turn into a civil war. President Bush's former White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Karl Rove, here to react to that from Austin. How you doing there, Mr. Texas? And good morning to you. Do you sense
from the state capital?
Right on. Do you sense civil war or not, sir?
Well, I sense a lot of division, which is, frankly, some of it's understandable, some of it is not. This is not a fresh, new idea. This idea was sculpted between October of 2015 and June of 2015 as the House considered its Better Way agenda, which was done from the bottom up. The House Ways and Means Committee, the Energy and Commerce Committee, discussing what they would propose to the caucus, endorsed by the caucus last June. There have been a number of special House conference meetings in which this bill has been discussed. It is Republican doctrine from top to bottom. But, yeah, I get it. There are some people who sit there and say now it's got to be perfect or I don't agree with things. But a lot of that is just posturing. I just don't get some of it. For example, you're going to have Mark Meadows on shortly.
Go ahead.
You're going to have Mark Meadows on shortly, who says he objects to the tax credits. Well, in May of 2015, he signed on as a co-sponsor of then Congressman Tom Price's repeal and replace bill, which included even more robust tax credits than are in this bill. He's already endorsed that concept of tax credits. May of 2015, he signed on as a co-sponsor along with 12 other members of the Freedom Caucus of Tom Price's bill that was built around the same idea that this is, which is empower the consumer.
Yeah, here's what I'm trying to figure out, Carl. You know, Kellyanne was just on. I thought she said a number of revealing things, including, you know, we can change parts of what's on the table right now. She didn't put a number on it in terms of percentage, 10 or 20, et cetera. But if President Trump wrote the book, The Art of the Deal, how much of this is being played out on the other side, trying to perfect their own art of the deal and get as much as they can out of it?
Yeah. Look, there are going to be 3 sets of discussions about this bill in which changes are going to be made. You're going to have the House discussion, which involves 2 phases, the markup by the 2 committees, and then the floor action. Then there's going to be a Senate bill. Anybody think the Senate bill is going to look like the House bill? No. But then, so there's going to be a set of discussions about what goes into the House bill. And then there's going to be a conference committee to try and reconcile the differences between the 2. And then it'll go back to the House and Senate. And it may actually be pinged back and forth between the House and Senate several times. So, look, the bill as it stands today is not going to be the bill that ends up getting passed and signed by President Trump. That's the reality of the legislative process. But as we go through that process, I think it is incumbent on all sides to say things that are accurate. I was taken aback by one of the leading conservative groups against this that said this is no different than Obamacare. Well, that's not true. It kills the Obamacare mandates on the individual and the company and the penalties with it. It kills $1 trillion in Obamacare taxes. It kills $700 billion of the subsidies for the exchanges. It kills the discrimination against young people. Young people under Obamacare pay more for their insurance in order to subsidize older people. It gets rid of the limits on HSAs. There are dozens of other things that it gets rid of that are in Obamacare and replaces it with an entirely new conservative reform framework that is really exciting.
Well, you're a buyer. That's what I take from that last comment.
Well, look, I'm a buyer of the process. I know it's going to change, but think about this. We have the biggest Medicaid reform in history. We do what Republicans have been saying for decades. We give control back to the states. We solve the cost problem by setting a per capita amount for every state that's the same based on 3 or 4 different kinds of populations. We control the cost thereby, and we put the states in charge. We expand HSAs. We don't just return it to the status quo ante. We expand how much you can put into an HSA, expand what you can pay for it. We have tax credits for the self-employed. Now, look, I understand they say it's a new entitlement. Mark Meadows has said this. Well, here's a question to ask him. We give tax treatment, favorable tax treatment, to companies that provide health insurance to their employees. But we don't give that same kind of tax treatment to the 15 million self-employed Americans. And we don't give that treatment to the people who, you know, we have 2.1 million companies with fewer than 20 workers. That's where most of the people who work and don't have insurance provided by their providers are found. If you're not in favor of providing a favorable tax treatment to those people who are the base of the Republican Party, then are you at least going to be consistent and call for the repeal of the $3.6 trillion of favorable tax treatment to employer-provided health coverage?
You make a strong case. More to come. I thought what Kellyanne said about Mike Pence and Donald Trump, very interesting. They're in this process. Carl, thank you so much, brother, from Austin. Karl Rove.
You bet.
Thanks.